Hello, and how's it going? This is Alfonso Chavez again, and you are watching the Camera64 Podcast. As many of you know, I am a photographer and I truly enjoy my craft of taking pictures of all kinds of stuff from food photography to senior sessions, quinceañeras, weddings, and everything else in between. But along the way, um, there's a lot more to the photography game that I think gets kind of glossed over or missed over, and that's the stories, the things that you see, the things that you hear as a wedding photographer and a quinceañera photographer. And so this is kind of some of the stuff or some of the stories that I have heard over the years, and I just can't help but think about it and laugh at some of the things that I've seen, some of the things I have heard, some of the things that you would not believe family would say to one another, just things that are going on during a wedding behind the scenes that most people don't get to see. And as a photographer, you kind of have a window into that backdrop or behind the scenes, what's really going on. The fact that the caterer's not there, or the DJ's running late, or the photographer doesn't know what he's doing. Just all kinds of weird stuff. The dress is late. The bridesmaid is drunk. The groomsman is drunk. The groom can't be found, or he shows up 5 minutes before the wedding's supposed to start, and the bride is just eyeballing her poor eyeballs out, waiting for the groom and hoping that he shows up. Things like that. It's just unbelievable how much stuff actually goes on in a wedding. And I think as a regular attendee, uh, growing up as a kid, that was one of our favorite things to do. As a family, we enjoyed going to weddings and quinceañeras. You know, the entire thing is just very nice. You know, you're invited. You get the invitation in the mail. There's a lot of weeks leading up to it. Usually, there's an excitement there. And back in the old days, not so much so anymore. But families would rent a nice big hall, and it was always bigger than what they needed, and they always went over the top for food and catering. And back in the day too, there was always a band. If you didn't have a band at your wedding or your quinceañera, it was kind of like it was kind of frowned upon. Although nowadays having a band is extremely extravagant now. It's very rare. And I can honestly say, probably in the past 5 years, we've only had maybe three of them, four of them that actually had a band, and everybody else uses a DJ. So that just tells you how much it's changed over the years. So the whole idea with these videos that I'm going to be making is I'm going to share a different story every time. And the one I selected for this particular time was this wedding that we went to. It was in the downtown area, and this particular wedding was very nice, very extremely elegant. Everything was counted off, so all of the tables, they had already been assigned to someone. And I think it was unexpected. I don't remember if it was from the groom's side or the bride's side, but either way, I don't remember which way it was. But they had some unplanned guests show up, and so they had a designated area for children, and they had the tables set up, which were, of course, they were not full size tables, they were not full size chairs, but they were in the corner of this pretty nice venue, and they had all the adults seated. And so I guess I'm assuming that these guests got wind of the wedding, I guess it was, and they decided that they wanted to go ahead and attend. And so they show up after they did the introduction of the bride and groom, and then they were going to serve a dinner at that time. And right as they finished that, they walked in and they were greeted at the door. They were explained to the situation was explained to them that they only had that all the seats were accounted for. Everybody who was invited was in attendance, so there was no extra seats, no extra chairs, or anything like that. But there were these small children-sized tables and chairs, And so she was gracefully invited to sit in the children's chair, in the children's table, and this it was just the funniest thing. I just heard it off the top of my head. I mean, off the top of my ears, I guess you could say, out of the side of my ear. Let's put it that way. I overheard the conversation as they were being escorted to the table, and the lady was very gracious and said, "Thank you. I'll be more than happy to sit, in the children's section." And on the way over there, the husband turns over and looks at her in a very serious, nonchalant way, and simply says, "Honey, I hope that your big buns," and I'm saying it in a nice way, "I hope your big buns will fit into the children's into the children's seats so that we can sit down and eat." And I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. I just could not help but laugh. And I think the lady did notice the fact that I was laughing. I guess she figured out that I had overheard what the husband was saying to her. And she just kind of gave me that dirty look. And I mean, I just couldn't help it. It was just the funniest thing. And it wasn't like the lady was huge. I mean, she was not overweight or anything like that. It's just the fact that, these are little things that sometimes husbands will say in private moments, I guess you can say, hoping that nobody is listening. And sure enough, I just happened to overhear that conversation. I thought it was just super funny, and I watched them go over, and sure enough, they sat down and they enjoyed their dinner sitting at the children's table. I just thought it was a great story, and one that I always kind of, every time I see small tables now, it's the first thing that comes to my mind. I remember this couple coming in and sitting at the children's tables. So those are the kinds of little things that you kind of hear and overhear and watch and see, and sometimes I even capture some of these ongoings in video and photos, and they're just great stories. And they're just funny. Some of them are just really funny. Some of them are really sad too. I've been on the sad part of it too, and I'm gonna go ahead and share one of those sad stories too. I was actually, this particular instance, I used to do sports photography at the very beginning, and one time I had a client I had taken her son's pictures at a previous event. And so I went ahead and told her, you know what, I don't have time to stop and print these, because at the moment we were packing up and we were getting ready to leave. But the lady, she was real nice. She understood. She says, "Well, I still want to buy the pictures even though y'all guys are packing up. And if you could deliver them to me at a different date." And I said, "Oh, yeah, sure." And so the lady invited me to meet up with her at the following week. Her son was going to be in another basketball game, another tournament that was going on the other side, clear across town, the other side of the city. And I had no problem. I said, "Yeah, I don't have anything going on next week. I'll be more than happy to go over, and I will get these pictures to you." So she went ahead and paid me. I made the promise that I'd take her pictures. And so the following week came, and I decided to let my wife know, "Hey, you want to go with me? I'm going to go deliver these pictures." Sure enough, we went out there. We drove out there, and I, as always, have my camera on me. And the lady showed once I handed them the pictures, she went through them. She shared the pictures with some of the other parents that were there at the basketball game. And so I said, well, she asked me, she says, "Well, sir, would you mind taking some pictures? Some of the other parents would like to get some pictures taken because they really like the pictures." And I said, "Yeah, oh sure, I don't have a problem. I'll go grab my camera." My wife, as always, she grabs, because she doesn't like me to take a whole lot of pictures and spend a whole lot of time. But I went ahead and did it. The lady didn't pay me. I said, "Well, I'll collect once I get the pictures done and printed and all that stuff." And so perfectly fine. And I shot the pictures. I made contact with some of the parents to let them know that I was going to have pictures available, and everything was hunky-dory when I left that day. So I left, and about a week later, I want to say, the lady called me crying, and I didn't understand what was going on, or it just seemed kind of weird and awkward, because none of the conversation that I had with her was anything sad or anything about that. Well, come to find out that one of the coaches from the basketball team, that I guess it was her son that was her son's coach, had an underlying condition that he wasn't aware of, and he ended up having a stroke or a seizure. I'm not sure exactly the condition, but to make the story short, he ended up passing away right after coaching a basketball game. And so it just so happened that I took the last pictures. I took the last pictures of that gentleman when he was alive in a professional manner, or nicely made pictures, because when I'm shooting the teams, I always get coaches pictures. It's part of what I always do. I think that's important. So I had tons of pictures of him as well as the rest of the team for that day, and they ended up being his last pictures. And so it was a difficult time, and the lady asked me if I would sell them to her, and she decided that she wanted to buy the entire set. So not only did she buy her pictures, but this time she bought all the pictures from the rest of the team, as well as the coach too. And she was happy to pay that. And then I ended up having, after the fact, I ended up having other parents contact me, and since this one lady had already paid, I went ahead and just made an online folder through Dropbox, and like I always do, and I made the pictures available to all the parents and all the coaches, as well as the family of the coach that had passed away. So it's kind of like you kind of run the gamut on this business. You kind of see all kinds of things, and that particular story falls right into the reason why we even do photography, is because it's capturing moments, it's capturing time in a way that we'll be able to go back, and the fact that we do not know when our last time is, you might end up taking the last picture of somebody. So that's why I it's part of the reason why I really enjoy it. It's capturing that time, because I know that when you take a picture right now, oftentimes gentlemen, they don't enjoy taking pictures. I enjoy having my picture taken, but I understand that a lot of gentlemen, when their wives call to do photo sessions, they don't want to be involved in the picture. But the thing is that if we can convince them to get their picture done and have a nice picture of them, in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now, those pictures become invaluable. They absolutely become invaluable. And at this point in my career, I'm really happy, because I visit customers, and I was just at a customer's house yesterday, and to see pictures that you shot, you are a part of that family. You're part of their stitching. With just even though it might be an entire T-shirt, the stitching, which is such a small part, plays a very important role in your T-shirt. But it's a very small role too. You can hardly see it, right? The stitching. Well, I feel like I'm part of the stitching of that family, and I've been to families' homes where they have tons of pictures. I scroll through Facebook, and all the time, all the time, I see pictures that I've shot over the years. Some of them I shot 10 years ago. Some of them I shot 8 years ago. And people still use them. 10 years, a picture that was taken 10 years ago. Now, most people, when they have pictures on their phone, they're not going to, how do you say, use a picture that they shot 10 years ago, just because it's not well lit. So, and for other reasons too. But when you get a professional picture done, it's a different feel. The lighting is always just right, and it's something you can look back on and be happy about, be proud about. There's nothing worse than looking back at let's say a quinceañera, and you look back at your quinceañera, and your photo book is just a whole bunch of dark, underexposed pictures that cannot be fixed. There's no worse feeling. You'll remember that photographer for all the wrong reasons for the rest of your life. It's kind of crazy, but that's the way it is. So I hope you have enjoyed this story, and I hope that the train hasn't bothered you that much. But unfortunately, the train is right across the street from my house, so it's just going to be a part of all my videos. But if you still enjoyed my stories, I will share a lot more stories, because after almost 15 years of doing this, I have tons of stories to share. those are just two that the first one I definitely wanted to speak about, and the second one I just came to mind, so I went ahead and shared that story as well. But the stories are numerous. There's tons of them, and some of them are funny, and some of them are sad, and some of them are just plain crazy. But if you enjoyed the stories, I want you to come back and see us again. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. This is Camera64 Podcast, and I am your host, Alfonso Chavez. And as always, we'll be coming to you from sunny San Antonio and from my couch. Take care. If you liked our video, please thumbs up. Please like our video, as well as if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. And we would like to let you know about on any of our upcoming videos. And if you'd like to hear any stories in particular, let me know, and I will be more than happy to share those stories. So you take care, guys. Till next time. Bye bye.